Arsenal in the quarter-final of the Champions League for the first time in 14 years. Arteta's first season in the Champions League, bringing back the team to the Champions League quarter-final. Arteta, as a manager for the first time in the Champions League with the Arsenal Football Club, bringing them to the quarter-finals of the competition, along with the big boys, the Real Madrids, the Bayern Munich, the Barcelonas. They are there to compete. Of course, the job was done very hard with penalties at the Emirates, with David Raya saving the day, of course. But what matters is that they got through. We'll go through the game. We'll talk about some key moments, what happened in the game, how Porto lined up, how Arsenal lined up, the adversities that Arsenal faced in this game. Of course, their fans, some of them, at least thought that they would walk over Porto, not knowing that in the Champions League, it's a little bit different. It's different than playing in your local league. But first, I want you to hit that like button if you're watching me now. Subscribe to Footy Judge Mo if you haven't. We do daily content, of course, panel debates, of course, and some match reactions. And let's talk about the game. The game wasn't as people expected. A lot of people expected Arsenal to be the dominant force in this game, especially at the Emirates, especially that they won the last 8 games in the Premier League before they faced Porto. Yes, they lost against Porto away from home in Portugal, 1-0, for a goal at the end of the game. Of course, I think it was the 92nd minute, if I'm not mistaken, or the 90th minute. And they didn't have a shot on target in that game, but everybody expected them to play their game at home against Porto, to actually just score a bunch of goals. A lot of fans went to say 4-0, 3-0. But me talking to the guys, of course, that we have on the channels before the game, some of them knew that the game was going to be tough. That Porto aren't an easy team. They have their heritage. They have their experience in the Champions League. Also, they have some of the players that won the Champions League before, and some of the players that played in the latter stages of the Champions League. And Sergio Conceição went to the Emirates, went to the carpet to play. They had possession in the first half. Between them and Arsenal, it was 51 Arsenal, 49 them in the first half. They completed, I think, very, very close number of passes to Arsenal. They tried to pass the ball from the back. Of course, they tried to play also behind the defense of Arsenal, the high line. Arsenal tried to press in the beginning of the game, and it didn't work because Costa, the goalkeeper, is brilliant with his feet, of course, along with Pepe, the experienced defender, the Portuguese, the 41 years old that looked like a 20 years old, playing the 120 minutes for Porto. But Porto came to the Emirates to play. They threatened Arsenal goal. They had shots on David Raya. David Raya had to have some saves. They didn't just sit back and try to defend. They had a shape, they had a plan, they came to execute. However, Arsenal broke the deadlock, of course, with a brilliant pass by Odegaard, who was, I think, was absolutely brilliant in this game. He was the Odegaard of last season, the brilliant Odegaard that plays close to the front line when Jorginho was on the pitch, but also in the second half when Jorginho went off and Declan Rice went to be the 6th. Odegaard still dropped deep, tried to dictate the game, tried to get the ball every time Arsenal had possession, tried to get on the ball as much as he can, which shows how brilliant he is in games like this. Sometimes when he's on his game, he's absolutely fantastic. But at the end, Arsenal couldn't score the second goal. Porto were very resilient. Very, very resilient. And it's very tough for Arsenal, of course, looking at this game. Some of the fans say, why didn't we win 3 or 4? This is how it is in the Champions League. It's just a different game. It's just completely different than what you face in your own league in the Premier League. And a lot of people knew this. Now Arsenal going to the quarterfinal, I actually think that this is a learning curve for them. I believe they will learn from this game. And I believe that Arteta did something in this game that was by design. He did not go full guns blazing in this game trying to press for 90 minutes. In the opposite, he actually, when he knew that Porto will have possession, will try to play behind his line, he dropped a little bit deep. He took the line a little bit deep, not leaving chances for Porto to go behind his high line, as people say. And that it looked on the pitch that Arteta couldn't press, and I think that was meant by design, not to give Porto any upper hand, because he didn't want Porto to score in this game, because it would be tough to come back from this. So when the score was 0-0, he did this. When the score was 1-0, when Porto had the ball, he didn't just go and try to press with 6, 7 players like sometimes they do in the Premier League, try to get the ball as fast as he can. Of course, because he knows the ability of Costa, the goalkeeper of Porto, and his distribution. That is very smart from Mikel Arteta. Some people, of course, spoke about the substitution, putting Eddie Nketiah, putting Zinchenko, which is, I think, Zinchenko didn't add anything, looked very shaky in the game when he came on, looked like a player, and this is something that a lot of people didn't think that will happen with the Zinchenko that played for Man City, that played for the experienced Pep Guardiola, that Zinchenko looked like a player who didn't want to make mistake, and instead of wanting to play the football, wanting to play the plan, he looked a very nervous player. He looked like he didn't want to be the guy that makes the mistake that causes something, and that made it even worse for him. But to be honest, I want to credit Kivior, who looked solid on that left side, did a lot of overlapping, a lot of underlapping. He was playing on the coach's son, Conceição, which is a very difficult player to play against. Yes, Conceição got the better of him in 1 or 2 plays, but I thought overall, Kivior didn't have a bad game. Gabriel Jesus coming on, playing on the striker, when Havertz dropped to the midfield, and then played on the left when Eddie Nketiah came on. I thought the substitution that should have happened, and that's just my opinion, was Bukayo Saka. I didn't think that Bukayo Saka had a great game. Gabriel Jesus could have played on the right side, but this is Mikel Arteta's choice. But I thought Bukayo Saka is the one that I expected more from in this game, to be honest. Wendell, the Brazilian left back, had a good game on him. It looked like Wendell was defending him very well. He was stopping him. He was getting the best out of him, to be honest, for the majority of the game. And it's something I didn't expect from Saka. However, Mikel Arteta kept him on. People said he kept him on for the penalties, which proved to be right because he scored an emphatic penalty. And also, I want to credit Declan Rice, who in this game played 2 roles. The role of an advanced midfielder or a left 8, and played the DM, and also scored a brilliant penalty. He's not shy of a responsibility, this fella. This guy, credit to him, he's very, very, very brave football player. He's proven day by day how good of a signing he is, and how what 100 million should get you. This is what 100+ million pounds should get you. A player like this that is not shy to take responsibility, performed in the majority of the games in the Premier League and in the Champions League as well. Yes, in the first game he wasn't there, but you have to remember that this is Declan Rice's first game in the Champions League knockout stages. It was against Porto away from home. So credit to him today. He played very, very well, scored his penalty, and looked very comfortable. Looked right at home, to be honest, Declan Rice. Credit to Arsenal. They're going to play with the big boys now. There's only 2 teams to go through now. It's Inter or Atletico Madrid, or PSV and Dortmund. But we'll see who Arsenal get. Now this is gonna be for them a learning experience. Of course, it's gonna be different in the next round if you face a Bayern, even if you face a Barcelona. Arsenal look very strong in the league, but they lack experience in the Champions League. But I believe Arsenal aren't that inferior to the other teams. They have very good players. Mikel Arteta isn't a bad coach. He knows what he's doing. And I believe that Arsenal will fancy their chances against any team in the competition in the next round. However, Are they favorites? I doubt it, unless they face a Dortmund or a PSV. And it's a 50-50 between them, PSG and Barcelona. Maybe if they face a, I don't know, if they face Inter, I believe my team Inter will be favorites because of the experience that Inter has in the Champions League. Of course, reaching the final last year, that added experience to the players, of course. However, this Arsenal team isn't weak. They did the job. David Raya came clutch. Mikel Arteta again proving that he made the right choice by getting David Raya from Brentford. I believe this wasn't some game that fans would try. A lot of fans would try to mock Arsenal, say it's only Porto. Listen, this Arsenal team, I'm calling them, they are a baby in the Champions League. And for a baby to reach a quarter final with a manager that's his first managerial job, and the first time ever for a manager to play in the latter stages, in the knockout stages in the Champions League, I think it's all right. It's very good. It's nothing, there is nothing to criticize them for. If you assume that they're gonna smoke Porto 6-4 or 5, you are mistaken. That doesn't happen often in the Champions League, especially from a new team like Arsenal to the competition against a team like Porto, who, even if they looked inferior on paper because of the players they had, it's not the Porto of old, they still have experience in the Champions League, and they showed it in both games. So I believe Arsenal should only take the positives from this game, should not look at this game as, yeah, we should have won this, it's only penalties. No, you went through, your mentality was great in the penalties, all the penalties were great, your goalkeeper showed courage, and he was brave, he wasn't nervous, he was very composed and calm in the penalty shootout. So I believe it's only positives from here to Arsenal. This is how I looked at the game. Now Arsenal have a big break, and they go to play Man City at the Etihad for a game that I believe might decide Arsenal's fate in the Premier League. I hope you enjoyed this video. Make sure to smash the like button, keep the notification bell on, and subscribe to the channel if you are new. Thank you guys for watching. Thank you everybody for supporting the channel, and we'll see you guys soon, and we're out.